We're sharing our songs, but also our culture, and showing how Nashville is changing and becoming more multicultural, but while embracing songwriting, which is so exciting.
I was born and raised in Nairobi, did my music there. I started doing my music when I was young. I remember correctly, my first time on stage was when I was top 5 years, and my mom used to have her friends come over, and they would have like a party at the house, and she put me on the table, and I was dancing, and so they put a song and I started dancing. Yeah, that's when I started music. But apart from that, I've been doing music since in Kenya we call it primary. Here you guys call it elementary. So that's what I did. Now, when I was in primary, the high schools used to coach me, and I would go be dressed as a high school student when I was still in elementary, help them to face like music competitions. I remember even like a girls' school came to me and dressed me like as a woman, and then you go perform with them. It was just an awesome experience because it just shows how good I was when I was growing up.
I'm Rachel Rodriguez. I am Mexican American, Chicana, born and raised in Michigan. My folks are from South Texas, and my grandparents from Mexico, from North Mexico, just across the border. And I've been singing a lot of what Obeezy said was my story as well. My father was a musician and my uncle, and they had a band. So I grew up with a lot of music in my house. At that point, my father had a Tejano band. So it was all Tex-Mex, mariachi, with some country influence in there as well. So that's where I got into country music and Tex-Mex and Tejano. That was all my upbringing was that. And they would put me on the table and put a brush in my hand. And so I would on the coffee table and sing at all kinds of events. So that was my upbringing. And then my father had a band. He went from a Tejano band where accordion is the main instrument in a Tex-Mex Tejano band. Now they were in Michigan after they had left South Texas. And he's like, if you take out the accordion and you put in an electric guitar, now we've got ourselves a country band.
I'm originally from Colombia, from Bogota, Colombia. Started singing when I was about 5. Also just, performing at family events or, whatever, los abuelitos, all that. I think we all started singing very young. But I started performing too when I was 5 on stage with we call these traditional Spanish bands called tunas, estudiantinas. They wear these long capes, and that's how I started my career. And I just kept performing at school. And when I was 14, I started doing music professionally, like doing it full time, performing every weekend. And when I was 15, I joined my first international tour. So a lot of my music career happened in Asia, in Malaysia, Singapore, China, and Indonesia. So I was there back and forth from when I was like 15 years old. And when I was 20, I turned 21 in one of the tours in Kuala Lumpur. And I decided that I wanted to learn more about jazz. I fell in love with jazz. And so I stayed there when I turned 21, and I ended up spending about 10 years in Asia, just with different bands, touring, doing music before I came to Memphis. I came here from Singapore, actually.
I'm a singer-songwriter and actor, originally from Honduras, Central America, and I live in Nashville since 2016. So now I'm a proud Honduran Nashvilleian, and my music is Latin pop. I used to do rock before. So every now and then I'll bring a rock song in the sets whenever they request it, and they're like, "What is it the same person?" When you bring out the rock side, right, the energetic. So I like to bring variety to sets. I perform mostly original songs, and I'll also bring in like top 40 some songs that are all-time favorites too. And my band did really well in Honduras too. Like we were the second band in the whole history of Honduras to have a video on MTV Latin America. And I guess I was the first female Honduran, right, featured, because it was a all guys band before. And so that was a great achievement, that not only for me but for my country.
My voice is more of emotional, romance, chill vibe, which I found myself doing more on R&B, soul, but at the same time, my energy is opposite. I am hyper on stage, dancing and all that. And so with that, I kind of tell myself, I I love soul music, I love R&B, pop music, but at the same time, I don't want to cage myself to say this is my style. I call myself a master of all. That's why I call myself the master. The only thing that I've never
I love
tried,
it.
and I don't think I'm gonna try, is the hard rock. No,
It's a mixture of a lot of things. So it is Michigan, Midwestern, but it's Tex-Mex as well. So I bring a lot of Tex-Mex influence. I love to throw in an accordion or a polka anytime I can. But I'm also a rocker. I'm not, I also grew up with a bunch of rednecks in the middle of nowhere in Michigan, and we love AC/DC and Metallica, and I'm a big Fleetwood Mac fan. So I play rock and roll on my auto harp. So I kind of, I play a traditional folk instrument, but I'll be playing some Fleetwood Mac or CCR on the auto harp. So it just, it's a mixture of everything. So I would say Americana, rock, country, soul, and it's all Latin infused. So I always have a percussionist with me, and I will always throw in some traditional standards, some classic songs that I grew up singing with my dad. It's always like having a part of him with me, because some of my greatest influences are people like Linda Ronstadt, who just crossed so many genres. She was on the R&B chart, she was on the country chart, she was on the rock and roll charts, and she had one of, if not still, the number one most selling mariachi album when she did Canciones de Mi Padre. Was huge. And so she did all of that. And then of course Los Lobos is one of my favorite bands, which also crosses so many genres, from traditional Mexican music to blues and rock. So
Right.
those are my influences. And so I would it's Americana, it's roots music.
I've been singing for so long and have just different influences. When I was growing up in Colombia, boleros and rancheras was what I used to listen the most. My dad is also a musician and he plays guitar, and my mom loves rancheras, so I grew up with all that repertoire. And I like salsa. That's what I grew up, like my generation. So I do still sing a lot of salsa. I write salsa music. I'm still very active here in Nashville doing that. I just had a show on Saturday with the Music City Latin Orchestra doing salsa. And I do jazz too. I love jazz, so I stay active performing here jazz. And the music I write, I think it features all those things. Draw a lot from Colombian folklore too. So it can be like a little cumbia, or maybe like we call it tropipop. There is a song that I wrote. I probably will perform that at the round, but it's called Como el Vino, like wine. And it's tropipop, like something that you can dance, but it's not necessarily salsa. But it's very Latin infused.
So I've never performed at Tin Pan South Songwriters Festival. I have performed in other songwriters rounds or festivals and shows in town, and with my original music. I always try to perform with my original music, and I haven't at this opportunity, so I'm really excited to be there for the first time.
It's my first time to be on stage solo in Nashville. I have performed with a band called Afro Coco, but this is my first time to be on show by myself, and just being with the Tin Pan Sound, it's an amazing event, and meeting such people. I mean, how do you describe this what we have here? This is amazing. This is international, For me, it's just a humbling opportunity to be with you guys.
Gosh, I've been in Nashville 25 years. It's such a songwriting community, and I've applied many times. I've had another friend that goes, you apply and I'll apply and maybe we can get around, and we never get picked to be. It's been years that we've applied to be in a round. So I'm honored to be in the songwriters round, and I think timing is everything, and it means even a little bit more to be in this circle of people sharing culture and music and tradition. So I think timing is everything. And so it was meant for me to be in this particular round.
I identify a lot with what Rachel said about being extra special because we're sharing our songs, but also our culture and showing how Nashville is changing and becoming more multicultural, but while embracing songwriting, which is so exciting. It means a lot to me too. And I want to share a very quick story. So the first time I heard about Timpan South was in a book. I bought a book. So I used to write songs when I was a little girl. I think that was one of my talents when I was little. I used to get tired cleaning my room, so that became the cleaning room song. And like everything was a song. But then when I was 14 and I learned more about the music industry, I was a little turned off by all that. So I thought, you know what, maybe I'm never gonna produce a record or write songs. So long story short, when I'm in Singapore years later doing jazz and doing my thing, I thought, nobody needs to record my album. I can record it for me and just write songs and have fun, right? So it completely switched in my mind. So I bought a book called Songwriting that was written here in Nashville. And I didn't know where Nashville was. I didn't know anything. And I learned about Timpan South. So now to think that after all those years, I'm going to get to be part of that event is surreal. It really is surreal. So